Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wa salatu salam ala khatim al-Nabiyyin amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Dear brothers and sisters, I've written a small piece on the effervescence of youth, the sprightliness of youth, the age of youth, but how the youth has been bludgeoned and bloodied, their character has been marred. There's a trenchant war that has been waylaid on the youth morally. They have been sidetracked with things like Facebook, obsession with it, not using technology for what technology is supposed to be, but yet the obsession, not doing any other thing except Facebook. Waking up in the morning looking at Facebook, divulging your personal history on Facebook, putting lewd and wayward and backward pictures on Facebook, and same as MySpace and Twitter, and talking small talk, wasting away your life. So there's a trenchant warfare, and it has been backed by statistics. People have studied how this warfare is taking place, this moral warfare on top of the youth, especially because they're vulnerable, they have their desires, they have their ambitions, and so the marketers are tapping into that. So it is very crucial here at this junction, at this age, at this stage, that we as Muslims realize what the environment really holds. We are in an environment, but we have no clue as to what is taking place. We sit in our houses filled with Wi-Fi. We don't know how it is cooking us. We're putting our cell phones to our ear continuously. We're using it as an alarm clock. We have gadgets all throughout our sleeping areas. Our rooms are not dark. Melatonin is not being made. Our bodies are not being repaired. We're getting depressed. We are getting sick. We're having high blood pressure. We're having diabetes. You name it, there's a plethora of sicknesses that are erupting from all over. And yet we just wonder, what is the solution? So I'm here today as one in the ummah of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to say, at least say something against the tide, because it would be morally incompetent of me to see all of these things, to view all of their effects, and see all of the dejected youth who have so much promise being crushed day in and day out, and then just wonder, oh, I can't do anything. It wouldn't be sound. It wouldn't be ethical. It wouldn't be Muslim-like to just stand by thinking that, oh, we can't do anything. And we are so impotent. We're unable to make any dent into these big places. You literally have these corporate heads of Facebook and you name it, and they want to get their personalities out there. They want to float their companies. And these are people who are dejected from universities. They were not good students, beer, alcoholic people. So it is not in the interest of humanity to be laced with this kind of negativity continuously and think that we cannot say anything against them because they hold the corporate power. Now is the time we must at least say something that is right. So I'm here to say something that is right. I have 6 points to deal with what the Muslim youth should do and how they should move forward in their lives. The first thing that the youth should do is to change the thinking. Thinking is extremely important. The capacity to think is where you will achieve greatness. Sometimes in our days, our capacities are very shortened, they're truncated, they're curtailed because we do not think big any longer. We want to only do one thing in the day. Sometimes you need to achieve more than that, not in a superfluous way, not in a way that you just waste your time getting things done or to-do list, but changing the capacity, reading more, thinking more, writing more. So the thinking has to change. So there needs to be a paradigm shift. So the first thing that the youth have to do, they have to change their thinking. And if you have to change your thinking, you have to get away from this environment that you have created for yourself that doesn't allow you to think. You cannot read, you cannot write, you cannot think, you cannot contemplate on any issues. So first and foremost, it has to be a paradigm shift in thinking. That is important. So how do you do that? You have to first say, well, I have to jettison all of the things that I have in my repertoire on this SMS, this constant obsession with Facebook and Twitter and cell phones and all of these other things. I have to get rid of that in order to start changing my thinking. I have to start reading books that it increases my mind. I have to listen to people who are successful in thought. Nothing succeeds like success. So it is important here that the paradigm shift in thinking has to take place. And thinking cannot take place in an environment of noise. So first and foremost, you have to change your thinking. The second point that the youth have to do is to educate themselves. Now, not everyone is going to go into higher education, and we do not need to do that. Sometimes our mothers and fathers push us into this educational field thinking that it is good for our worldly benefit. But I may be a good carpenter. I may not be good at any of the other things. I may be good at, handiwork. I may be good as a plumber, as an electrician. So I do not need to sit for 4 or 5 years wasting thousands and thousands of dollars knowing how to learn how to read. You can do that over 100 days and become a perfect reader and writer. So you don't need to spend thousands of dollars and 5 years in order to figure out that that's not the field that you want to go to. So education here is that if you are in the first degree program and you want to finish, you have to first see what you like. If you like the thing that you are studying, then you will become good at it. If you dislike it, you will never be good at it. And if you happen to get a job at it, you will be miserable for the rest of your life. So do something that you like and like something that you do. And so studies have become like that. So for the Muslim youth at this day and at this stage, they have to start studying at a higher level. So when you figure out what you are doing, if you get to counselors, for example, we do not know what to do. We go from program to program. We go from course to course. Year to year, we change degree programs. Why are we doing that? Because we don't take an aptitude test. We do not talk to counselors. We do not really see. We don't have introspection. And we do not think deliberately as to what are we really going to do with our lives. We're just there because our mothers and fathers want for us to get a degree. So you have to search all of these things to see really what are you good at? What do you really like? Do you like reading? Do you like writing? Do you like politics? Do you like cooking? What is it that what is your penchant? What is it, your desire, your bent, your lean? What are you more prone towards? So if you are good in mathematics, obviously you're not going to be reading Shakespeare and enjoy it. You may do that to see if you like it or not. But if you're mathematically inclined, then it's impossible for you to enjoy literature of other people. The greats of literature. So it's important here that you figure out what you're doing. But my point here is that you need to get to a higher education. So if you finish the first degree and you like it, you need to go on and specialize. You need to do your masters and then you need to do your PhDs. Now before I used to think that, all this is kafafo and we just need to throw it away because this is not true education and this is just a schooling, meaning to say a school of fish. But at that level, because of the environment we live in and the systems that we live in, Brother Hamid himself, one of my close brothers, he stated that, and he changed my mind on this point because it is a crucial point here. Yes, definitely from 0 to 12, we definitely need to revamp the way we have education. But when you get into the university level, it is still mediocre. But at the same time, when you get to specialize, you can read outside of your field, or even in the field that you're in, you can be more expansive in the field that you're in and become an expert in the field you're in, so that we also as Muslims can talk from within the system and at the same par and at the same level as anybody else, the best in the country. So that is important for education. So if you're going to pursue higher education, set your mark on the highest and be the best in the field that you can be, and do not be an Uncle Tom once you get there. Do not be a supine bunch just lying down waiting for somebody to walk all over us. No. Be proud Muslims, be dignified, have integrity, be morally upright, and be just to everyone. And show your colors being right people, doing the right things, irrespective of whoever you deal with, religious and non-religious. So that is important, to be in the system and to have the highest standard within the system itself. That's the best form of da'wah right there. So that is important that you understand this point. The third point is that the Muslim youth, male and female, have to study Islam. But what kind of study of Islam? Definitely all of us as Muslims, we need some rudimentary level of understanding of Islam, knowing how to wash, knowing how to pray, knowing how to do our compulsory duties, as well as the duties that beautify our religion. But at the same time, people who are wanting to go at a higher level of studies, and most of us, we can go to a certain level, but the ones who specialize, this broken system of send in your application, fill it in, and if you happen to be under a certain age, and then we will accept you. This is a broken system. This does not look at the aptitude of the student, does not look at the worth of the student, a potential student, does not look at the worth of a scholar to be. Somebody can be 31 and could be great if his mind is turned toward that. And somebody could be 16 and could be really inspiring. So this fill in the blanks, and we will take you in based on these superficial criteria, that we are really leading the ummah astray. We are leading it into the ground itself. So my point here is that we have to be people that once you start in higher education in Islam, that you have people who are sincere, who are God-fearing, who are honest, who are decent, who want purification, so that we also have blessings from Allah. That's first and foremost. Secondly, we need to actually, when we study, we need to start specializing. Now, because of the lack of leadership within the Muslim Ummah, there are some leaders, but we're at an all-time low. What we need to have is people who are recruiters, who can recruit students. That's done everywhere. Corporations, they do that. People who succeed in society have proper recruiters. You have it for basketball, baseball, you name it. Why not for religion? You need to recruit proper students who have the aptitude, who have the skills, who may be linguistically developed, who may be very good writers, maybe good thinkers. So people, now you need those kinds of people in order to pick students. We don't have those kinds of people, maybe very few, and the students are being led astray because they're just filling in forms. So everyone is going here and there when we're not getting to the point where we're supposed to get. So when we start studying Islam in a deeper fashion, we have to remember that we have to study it for the sake of Allah. That is important. People study it for the sake of coming back and being called a sheikh, being called an imam, being called, I'm going to wear my thobe, or I'm going to go on the lecture circuit. And when I get on the lecture circuit, oh boy, am I going to be famous. These are all insincere drives, and it has no kind of blessings. What is it really that you want to do when you get the studies in your hand? Do you want to come as an arrogant, pompous, pugnacious human being? Or do you want to really come back as a humble student of knowledge that want to increase themselves, that want to go forward? So it is important here at this junction of where the ummah is standing, at the cusp of falling over, that we have students who really learn Islam for what it is. Imam Abu Hanifa, he said that he told his companion, his student actually, Abu Yusuf, may Allah be pleased with both of them. So Imam Abu Hanifa is telling his student, did you become a raisin before you were a grape? Meaning to say that you have to take all of this knowledge and then become wizened. Wizened is a word in the English language which means that, you have been sun-drenched. You see those old people that live in the sun, in the desert, that their faces, they have wrinkle, but these are sun wrinkles. And they become wizened, they become dried up, shriveled because of the rigor of the environment itself. So that is important, that we understand that we go there to learn and to really have thoughtfulness and to have expansiveness in thought and be judicious in learning and really spend time, a long time you have to spend in learning. I'd like to read you a quote from W.E.B. Du Bois, a great champion of the African Americans, a scholar a great humanitarian, really a wonderful human being who has had such marvelous stories. One time he was walking along and one of the white ladies, she looked and said, "Boy," that's what they used to call the African Americans, "come and fetch the wood and put it over there." He saw that she was old and he went in, took off his jacket, rolled up his sleeves and fetched all the wood for her and put it on the side, put on his jacket again and left. And then somebody who was working in the house said, "Ma'am, do you know who that person was?" That was Professor D.E.B. Du Bois. And she was really shocked at that. And she said, "Yeah, was it so?" And then she became one of the biggest donors to his university. So that shows the depth of character. What he said, and I will read to you. He said in his book called The Souls of Black Folk. He said, "To make men we must have ideals, broad, pure, and inspiring ends of living, not sordid money getting, not apples of gold. The worker must work for the glory of his handiwork, not simply for pay. The thinker must think for truth, for not fame. And all this is gained only by human strife and longing, by ceaseless training and education, by founding right, with a capital R, on righteousness, and truth, capital T, on unhampered search for truth." Unquote. That's a magnificent statement, literally saying you have to be sincere, you have to spend time, you have to go through the rigor of being scholarly. So here it is important that we have a sifting process, that we know what to do with our students that are wanting higher education. We want to have the biggest and the brightest brains that are coming forward. We want to have recruiters who actually understand where the benefit for people. Some can be good in the Arabic language because they're linguistically good. Some can be good in different fields. So we need to start plugging in those holes. We cannot have somebody who's just fed up of life and says, "Oh yeah, so all of a sudden I want to become religious. Let me go and study abroad." It doesn't work like that. Maybe out of some of these, you might get a few that will really shine because they were truly in a system that they didn't like. But usually somebody who's just dejected and he's not interested in hard work, never tried hard work, never tried his intellectual capabilities as a capacity. And then all of a sudden, they want to study Islam, and then he comes back, he can grow the beard and becomes a huge problem for the Muslim Ummah because it's half-baked, not knowledgeable, does not have the full understanding of religion, is usually tilted to one side or the other, watered down or too extreme. The balanced position is difficult because one has to be erudite. You have to be able to understand the positions. For example, shoulder to shoulder, feet to feet, what does it mean? Who actually made the narration? Nu'man ibn Bashir, he was 8 years old. What did Ibn Hajar actually say about it? Can you really have shoulder to shoulder and still have feet to feet? Would it be possible? Or are we just putting feet to feet and the shoulder to shoulder, which has many more hadith that are compiled for it? That we are not making shoulder to shoulder, but we're putting feet to feet, meaning we're putting the worst part together, but yet we are not putting the shoulder to shoulder, which has stated in many other hadith, although it is found in Bukhari. But Nu'man ibn Bashir radiallahu anh was 8 years old in that. So how do we really understand it? Do you want the understanding of Ibn Hajar Asqalani, who was one of the greats, or do you want your own understanding? So rather than concentrating on what the ayat of Allah is, we are concentrating on where our feet should be. It is important here. That's why we need scholarly education, people who are bright, beaming, good people, kind-hearted people. Al-mu'minu hayyinun layyin, that the believer is inviting, is kind, is easy to go down with. There's no problem in jovialness. There's no problem in light jokes that people can get with. But there's time for seriousness also. Some people think that it has to be all serious. Some people think that it has to be all jokes. There needs to be an understanding who you are talking to, what you are doing, how are you presenting yourselves. All of those things. Because I can grow a beard. I have grown a beard. Somebody told me, why you can't grow it long? I'm not hairy. So this is the problem. This is that because we are small thinkers. It is important here that we understand this point. Extremely important. I pray that we do. The fourth thing that the Muslim youth has to do is that he or she has to come into the area of now media. Because media is a huge problem for us. It's one of the biggest problems that we have. It depicts us as criminals, as terrorists, as people who are unlawful citizens of society. It depicts us as slimy, as conniving, as backwards, as wayward. Any negative appellage that you can put, the media prints us as such. The media is really controlled by 5 or 6 huge families, and that's it. And they export that nonsense everywhere in the Muslim world. So Muslims and non-Muslims alike are affected by what they see. And since we live and breathe and swim in media, at least we should have a voice. That's why it is important for the youth now to take this challenge up and to go into media. Now, somebody could say, well, where should I go? Well, if you want to be a writer, then you have to at least start by writing, take some courses, and if you like that, and if you have some abilities to write, then go and take a creative writing course. Then you might go and join the journalism school if you want to be a journalist, or if you want to be an independent freelance journalist. That's even better. We can, as Muslims, have our own journalism school where we can bring out people. Anybody can come in, Muslim, non-Muslims alike, and can learn the right way of doing journalism rather than this 15-second blurb that they want continuously and short little, grade 8 mentality kind of writing. This is not the way to present news. A great hour of news is Democracy Now! By Amy Goodman and Juan Gonzalez. Amazing. I mean, if you can see that 1 hour, it will cover the whole 24 hours of CNN and much more because it is credible. So we need people to go into journalism school. We need people to study media. We need writers. We need bloggers. All of those things that are needed, but we don't need bloggers who go and say, oh, you fool, so and so, and they curse on the blog sites, and they don't know how to argue a point, and they get emotional, and they start becoming very vile and vulgar, and this is not the way to go. So the Muslim youth have to step up because we've been bludgeoned by this media. We have to step up and really take it by its horn. So it is important. We just did a media pamphlet that is out there. You can get it from the center's website, and just to show you how they go through this propaganda, where they make the propaganda against the North American Indians, that they were wild, and they kept saying that because they were great people, but they kept saying they're wild and they cull people and all of those other things. And then they have these schools for North American Indians. They put them on reserves, they kill them, they shoot them. All of those things coming from media. Same thing for the African American, coming from great people, kings and queens, into slavery and into behind bars and you name it. Until now, the racism is rampant, and in so-called democratic countries where they say, well, everyone is equal, that's a total load of nonsense. So Muslims have to step up, and now Muslims are the ones that are being kicked into oblivion because we are not saying anything. So 1.8 billion people, 1/4 of humanity, voiceless, strangulated, throttled. Throttle doesn't mean putting your, opening up something. Throttle actually means to close, to strangulate, to actually make sure that it doesn't breathe. And that's exactly what the media has done to the Muslims. We need to stand up. If it wasn't for some of our non-Muslim friends and sympathizers, we would not even have that small voice that is out there to say something right about us. So it's important here. The fifth point the youth should do is that they should go into business. If you are a business-oriented person and you like dealing in that, make sure that you're honest, make sure that you never lie. Because all of these things are from prophetic traditions and from the Quran and Sunnah. So you cannot, say, well, I'm going to go into business and sell alcohol because I can make money. Well, there's no blessing in that. Or I'm going to go into business and start selling cigarettes. So you're going to go and end up killing people because they're smoking these deadly poisons. We need to go into clean business. We need to have business acumen, smartness. We need to be sharp in business. And then when we when we establish ourselves as business and we have credible people doing that business, then those business owners who Allah has given much because the community supports them, they should give back into the community, not just for the minarets and for the domes, but into projects, in giving and funneling monies into projects of giving scholarship to Muslim students that want to have higher education so that they don't have this burden. I did not touch on the Islamic education where we need endowments, waqf, meaning these monies should be there so that the student does not have to go through stress. They call it bursary here, so that it alleviates their, the strenuous position that they're in because they have to buy books and all of those other things. The mind has to be free. So in this secular world, although there's a lot of tension, we can still create an environment where the student can learn to live and to think freely. So here it is important for the business people to give back to the community. The community should patronize them, but at the same time the business people should give back to the communities and give back into products of the community so that they can give scholarships so that people can go and educate themselves and come back educated into society itself. And there's no problem in giving scholarship to non-Muslims. Why not? If you have a credible person who is decent, who's good and wants to do good to society, why not? Because Muslims are supposed to be bearers of good news, and they're supposed to be bearers of kindness. So we need to actually step up. We're far behind. The business people have to come forward. So if you want to become a business person, have that in your intention and go forward and help society as a whole. We need good business people who are earning lawful money, not on the backs of widows and people who get their paycheck at the end, and people who have slot machines in their stores and earning money off of old people and people who are dejected in society. That's the worst thing to do. Become smart, become ingenuitive, become creative in business, and then inshallah Allah will bless you. And try to stay away from anything that is unlawful, because it has no blessing. You might think that is bringing money, but it has no blessings. Put blessings into your monies and give back something to society. So we need Muslim youth, some of them, to really be good business people so that they can support students of knowledge and support programs that really help and take us out of this dungeon that we have dug ourselves into. The sixth point, brothers and sisters, is that the youth has to delve into the area of human rights law. We need lawyers of all kinds. So we need to have a portion of society that really concentrates on law, because if you're going to live in society, society is made out of law. So not that you have people, what they're doing at this point, where the Muslims are really at the end of somebody's foot being kicked, somebody's tongue being lashed and lacerated with calumnies and with tale-bearing and with harsh words and with penal codes, and you name it. It's out there, and with detentions and with renditions and with jail without any kind of evidence, and it's something that's out of a witch book. But now we have to face that. So we need lawyers. We need lawyers who concentrate on that. We need human rights lawyers. We need lawyers that can actually step up, and not just for the gain of money itself, but that they can step up and really help the community. Yes, they have to live also, because when you have studied such, they say, well, since we have studied so-and-so, we are now big shots and we need X amount of dollars per hour and we are now the great ones. No, this is not the right intent. So if you do that, yes, make your monies where you have to make monies. If you're, going into, if somebody's able to give you monies, great. And make your monies. But go give back to the community also. Because very few rich people give back to the community. So if you're a lawyer and you've made it, and you have monies, give back to the community. And if you're a lawyer, you want to actually go and do something right, go into human rights law and defend the honor of the Muslims. Because it's now time that some of the lawyers have to come out, and like many non-Muslim lawyers that come out and help the honor of the dejected and the despised and the people who nobody wants to even associate or even take their name, because they have been put on a list or they have been put in jail wrongfully, and 7 years after, when he has a back problem and has lost his eye, then he comes out and they say, well, this was all a hoax, and we just had to put that in order to create fear and terror into people's hearts, because we are the people that can do so. I think law no one, even a small portion, should be above the law. And the majority should be beneath the law. Everyone should be equal under the law, because law is blind in one sense. Not blind that it's going wayward, but it's blind in one sense that it doesn't differentiate between the rich and the poor. So I think the Muslims now have to also go deeply into this, think deeply that law is an area that we need to concentrate on. And it is important that we start now, because Allah knows where this trend is going, that we really need lawyers who have God consciousness, who are good, who can help people, and irrespective. And if a non-Muslim comes to help, of course help. I'm just talking from a Muslim side, because the Muslims are the most downtrodden people in this day and age. And I don't know why we are like that. We need to get out of this inferiority complex and this inscrutable kind of thought that no, there's no way out, we must be impotent all our lives. It can't be like that anymore. We need to go forward. Please look into law, because we need lawyers in the forefront, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you in this, and it is important that you take that. In conclusion, brothers and sisters, I've just elucidated upon 6 points. I would like to conclude that the Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, said that the one who is smart, he works for something that is after death. And the one who is ajiz, the one who is incapacitated, weak, he just works for his soul. He just follows his soul, and then he relies on Allah, like as though I just do every dirty work possible and then I hope in Allah. This is not hope. You do the right thing. So here it is important. Martin Luther King, he said, silence in times of trouble is betrayal. I say that silence in times of trouble is treachery. And in order to be treacherous, you have to be a very cruel human being. I say silence in times of trouble is hard-heartedness. I say silence in times of trouble is selfishness. And I say silence in times of trouble is lack of faith. So we at least need to say something. Brothers and sisters, if you're not a youth and you can help the youth, please help them. If you're a rich person, please give some endowments. Stop worrying about your dunya always. If you're somebody who can help with thought, please help with thought. If you're a youth, don't know where you're going, please take an aptitude test. Please go and ask somebody, what should I do? Where can I get help from? What am I good at? Go and ask somebody what you're good at. What do you like? Have this kind of dialogue. Don't give up after 1 or 2 days of searching. Go and see what you like and do that, and do what you like and like what you do. That is important. Brothers and sisters, it's no longer we can take this, I just can't do it anymore. We can do it. So every one of you out there has an ability to give back. The sisters, the brothers, the old sisters, the old brothers, the young sisters. Everyone has a role to play. Now is the time, and that's why I say that it is treachery at this point, because we can no longer sit in our copious lifestyle while every other thing is falling apart around us and say that the Muslims have been non-benefactors to society. We just can't do that anymore. Please wake up and please shine, inshallah. There's the time for us to shine. It is the best of times and the worst of times, but this, inshallah, can be the best of times, because the believer, all times is good for them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and guide you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.